What I'm trying to say is that the wreck man that is talking now, he's telling us something all of us know. I've been saying it before. Nobody, I repeat again, no Nigerian has ever won an election. All elections in Nigeria has been rigged. Okay. From 1923, 22nd of September 1923, when the first election, when the British allowed us, following the agitation of people like Herbert Macaulay, that formed the first political party in Nigeria. That party was formed in that National Party of Nigeria, NNPN, National Democratic Party of Nigeria. The first political party that was formed. That election was rigged because the British didn't want Herbert Macaulay in that parliament. They didn't want him in that place. They rigged him out, arrested him, framed him up of charges, put him in prison. This thing that politicians are doing, British taught us. But today now, let the Queen come and let the Prime Minister of Britain come and contest election in Nigeria. He will lose the election. You don't win election in Nigeria because you are good. You win election because elections are rigged for you. Results are rigged. Nobody, even Abiola's election, I still look at it this way. All of them from 1999, nobody has won election. All elections have been rigged from councillor to presidency.
Bring it back to Bivas and his.
Yeah. I will be. I have not just. I will. I have become your last bus stop. And said it from the beginning till now. I will be your end until Biafra come. I'm going to see you there.
Welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are joining from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much, and remember.
Thank you so much for staying with us. My guest, Madi Shehu, a rights activist and non-commercial corruption whistleblower, joins me now. Thank you so much again for coming to the show.
Thank you very much.
So we'll start with crude oil theft. We saw flood of activities lately. Apart from the talk, perhaps the private security arrangement put in place led to the discovery of that 4-kilometer pipeline, and now we are seeing vessels being arrested and destroyed.
Okay, let us get focused. The issue of crude oil theft started lately with the public statement issued out by the Chief of Naval Staff, who said that the issue of crude oil theft in Nigeria is beyond the Niger Delta militants bunkers. Rather, it is a combination, an equilibrium point where security agencies deployed at the Niger Delta, NNPC oil workers at the Niger Delta, ship owners, NNPC staff, and many other people, including banks, are deeply involved in the large-scale hemorrhage, fraud, and theft of the Nigerian oil. That was him. Don't forget, soon after that, Melekari came on air and said crude oil worth 589 billion naira is being stolen annually. Then lately he came back and said 250,000 barrels of oil are being stolen daily. Then we have the Senate President and the Speakers of Reps. Last Friday, after the budget delivery by Mr. President, the following day, look at the Sun newspaper, 1 million barrels of crude oil are being stolen by day.
Even the VP lately spoke.
Even the Vice President. Now these are official figures. These figures are not coming from the enemies of the state or enemies of the government in power. Therefore, they couldn't be telling lies. But we have three conflicting figures. Melekari said 250,000 barrels per day. If you take the official exchange rate, now a barrel of crude oil is being sold at $100 average.
About 100.
An average. So if you take the average of $100 per day, 250,000 barrels stolen per day, at an official exchange rate of 470 naira to a dollar, you have 3.8 trillion naira being stolen every month of crude oil. If you take the black market equivalent, it is 6.5 trillion naira. Now, if you go to 4-kilometer pipe, assuming 4-kilometer pipe, the stealing was there only for 9 years, you have 81 trillion naira being stolen within 9 years. Come back to OPEC figure. If you look at the OPEC website, they gave two figures. One is 413,000 barrels on average per day is being stolen from Nigeria, equivalent to about $10 billion being stolen every month. The OPEC figure will give you 6.7 trillion naira being stolen annually. If you go to Ahmed Law's figure as the speaker, 1 million barrels per day, it gives you 26.17 trillion naira being stolen every year, which is more than the Nigerian budget. But what is more important is that why could it be at the point of inspection?
Now before we get to that, you painted, you enumerated the different figures, different officials came
different
out
figures.
And I was thinking of the quantity of petroleum premium motor spirit, PMS, petrol that we consume in Nigeria.
Yes.
You still get different figures from different governments.
The Controller General...
So why is that our industry this opaque, shrouded in
the
mystery?
Controller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, came on air and said the claim by NNPC that 60 million liters of premium oil is being consumed every day, he said, is an absolute lie. He said something is being hidden away from Nigerians, that something is fundamentally wrong, and there is something to be looked into there. Hamid Ali, this is also an official person. I think what is happening is that you get these contradictory figures depending on the interest group. If a figure comes from OPEC, it is trying to avoid sending panic message to the world.
To the oil market.
To the global oil market. So they downplay the figure. If the figure is coming from NNPC, they are trying also to downplay the figure so that they don't see the incompetence in them. If the figure is coming from the politicians like Ahmed Lawal, is trying to tell you that yes, we are the watchdog, we want to tell you the truth. That is how these figures emerge. Otherwise, if there is this synergy, if there is this sincerity, if there is this guidance from corporate governance, we should have a central, agreeable one figure coming from everywhere. But all is not well, because everybody's interest is rooted.
But why have they find it difficult to be on a common ground?
Because there is large-scale dishonesty, large-scale deception, large-scale hemorrhage eating deep into the oil industry. And that is the only reason why now we can understand why Nigeria is not growing. A small size of people, less than 2,000 people, are holding the jugular veins of all Nigerians, 200 million Nigerians. Some have died long ago. Some are expectorating, seeking for oxygen. Some are traumatized. Some are sent into permanent economic husbandry by a small clique, cartel, and cabal of heartless, godless, and people who have no conscience.
Now, these government officials they are accusing of complicity have said, many of them have said, we will investigate this 4-kilometer pipeline. Now, if you accuse them of being responsible, how do you expect a sincere, genuine investigation?
Investigation has been concluded.
Even before it has started?
Of course, somebody is going to inspect an abnormal site at the Niger Delta. 10, 15 minutes after the inspection, he said an illegal pipe has been discovered under sea, running 4 kilometers, and it has been there for 9 years. How did he arrive at 9 years instantaneously? Like, for example, if you go as a patient and see a dermatologist and say you have a skin disease, the first thing he will do is he will get the skin scrapped, get a sample, go for skin snip. Similarly, this is the entire field of an archaeologist. No archaeologist has submitted any report to the NNPC because archaeologists are responsible for discovering the length of time where an instrument or an equipment is subterranean. But no voice, no message, no report from archaeologists, but only an engineer is telling you 9 years. Even 9 years is scandalous enough. In that 9 years, crude oil on the assumption of 100 barrels per day is taken, 1 million per day is 89 trillion naira worth of crude oil is stolen within that particular 9 years. Look, The same Keremali said they have discovered a crude oil pipe, NNPC pipe, in a church, in a mosque in Lagos. Till today, he never told us for how long have those pipes been there, what content of oil has been stolen through those mosques and churches, and we have not had the imam and the mosque committee of this mosque arrested. Neither have we had the presiding priest over that church arrested. No, Nigeria is a country where you can do as you wish. Nothing will happen.
And the vessel we saw being destroyed, the first thing that went through my mind
destroying the evidence.
Is the evidence not going?
Destroying the evidence. I saw it this morning that the crew members, the crew on the ship have been arrested, and we are setting the entire ship on fire to serve as a deterrent. What deterrent? It means that you are destroying an evidence ab initio. If you arrest me as a person bunkering oil on Nigerian high sea, and you destroyed my instrument, the instrument preserved and used as evidence in court. So you cannot even present anything as an evidence. It is telling you that somewhere, somehow, a smart Alex is acting very fast. And other smart Alex will also act because they will not begin to destroy or even to ferry away the ships away from Nigeria. Look, there is no way a ship will enter Nigerian water and it's not seen by the radar, by detectors, by so many other equipment being operated by the Nigerian Navy. That is why
even the International Maritime Organization.
Yes. So there is something is happening in Nigeria where we are all being taken for granted. We are all being taken for a ride, and ironically, they don't want people to talk. They don't want people to comment. They don't want people to raise voices. If you raise voice, you are an enemy. If you keep quiet, you are an acceptable coward.
So how do we, it appears as a vicious circle. Does this suggest that the solution lies outside government? Do we seek international help?
Let me tell you one thing. This oil theft, if you go for international help, you are deceiving yourself. Are you telling me that these oil prospecting companies are not aware? No, they are aware. They are fully aware. If you go outside to bring...
Some will say the pressure drop will indicate. And if there's a tap into an existing line, the pressure level is being monitored.
Yeah,
the first to know what is the company that is not an appraiser.
What you pump and what you receive. When there is a variation, it tells us that there is a pilferage, there is a stealing taking place there. Who is supposed to...
And the normal thing you do is to go through that length of the distance the pipeline covers to see the point of... That's a layman's perception reaction.
Have you realized that when there is an election involving Pengassan officials, it's like a war? Because Pengassan are stakeholders in this sleaze. Have you had have you seen NNPC union? They are cooperative. They are the richest in the world. The NNPC cooperative are the richest in the world. That is why when officials are being appointed, you find it's like a tug of war. You don't even talk about the banks. None of this stealing can take place without banks. None. If you go looking for a loan now in a bank,
but we have MFIU.
Let me go on this. If you go looking for a loan in the bank now, they will tell you no money can be easily available. There is other people's money, OPM. OPM money is just another translation that there are people who have stolen huge amount of money, deposited in the bank unofficially, without any documentation, come and borrow money from them. This is other people's money. Banks have contributed immensely, are contributing in destroying
why is the
Nigeria. All the banks in Nigeria
active? Are they reporting? Is it that they report and we don't get action from the actionable agency?
Whom do they report to? If NFIU report to the last table, the last table may be an interested party in the report they are given. The last person on that table will sit.
So that's why I asked, where do we go to? Because we have to look at ways of how to, apart from lamenting the problem, how do we resolve? Do we continue to pray for God to intervene directly here?
See, the problem is in Nigeria there is no deterrent to cry to criminality. As long as we continue to celebrate criminals in Nigeria, somebody will steal from the public treasury, high, empty and dry. And you see that person being given a national honor. You see that person contesting offices from the governor, becoming a minister, becoming a senator, becoming a member. And unfortunately, you see the society celebrating him. Even when criminals who have been convicted for stealing money, the moment they are released or they are pardoned, they go back to their communities, they are being heralded. They are being adored. They are being celebrated. They are being given chieftaincy titles. They are at the waiting place where somebody will die and they are sent to the throne. In a society where everybody seems to agree that stealing is normal, stealing is acceptable, crime can be accommodated, there is no way that society can wake up and say we want to grow. That society, like Nigerian society, will continue sinking and sinking and sinking and sinking forever. If you ask me, I'm being honest with you. If you ask me what is the solution, for the first time I'll be honest with you, I don't know. Where government officials are involved, security officials are involved, banks are involved, NNPC workers are involved. Virtually everybody who is directly, indirectly, or tangentially related to oil production with a proximity is largely involved. Whom are you going to?
And you said the international community won't be of help?
They will not be of help. The international community are deeply involved in this fraud. Like, who owns this mothership? They are not owned by Nigerians. For that pipe to have been laid for 4 kilometers is beyond Nigerians' technology.
And the destruction of that vessel, the press was invited. I was thinking the haste with which they invited the media to cover the destruction.
It is deliberate. In fact, in the coming days, in the coming weeks, in the coming month, you will see more ships being destroyed, more ships being sunk deep down.
But some of these vessels that were arrested in the past, at least we have to give it to government and the security agencies. A lot of arrests have been made in the past. That's a fact. Now, some of these assets were left with EFCC. We hear tales of they were disposed of, undervalued and disposed of. Now, we also hear tales of they just sunk after being left in the sea for so long without anybody attending to it. How should we address this issue of process of corruption? How do we, at some point, the process of crime commission was mooted. I don't know how far it went in being passed as a law.
I hope Magu will come on this table one day. I hope you invite him. He will give you shocking revelations on confiscated ships at the Niger Delta, confiscated through court orders, valid court orders, and he will tell you how they ended up being where they are now. Some of them, even after being confiscated, have been taken outside Nigerian waters. Some of them were sunk. Some of them were butchered into pieces and sold out. Where is the money? Magu will tell you maybe one day in his memoir or one day when he appears here. But what is important is that
he spoke last weekend through a relative.
Yeah, I saw
saying that his travails was corruption
because of corruption. Now, for me,
perhaps he needs to speak more. Will he summon up the courage?
I hope he will one day. Now, if you go around Abuja, you will see how this was EFCC inscription in their thousands. Some have been there for the last 10 years. They are getting dilapidated. Some have become a behavior of where criminals are hiding. My take is that if you take over someone else's property, even if the case is in court, it's either you give those properties out for rent or receivership, or where possible, sell them out. Because on the balance of probability, even if you win the case, government is big enough to pay you.
Magu was also accused, and there's no former EFCC chairman that has not been accused. I don't know how many of them that were proved of sale of these assets at highly undervalued rates.
From Moribado to the current one, everybody will continue being accused. For what? For compromising cases. For what? For accepting bribe on cases.
Or maybe refusing.
Or refusing to collect bribe. Because if you are accusing me and I'm before you, I will peddle stories that I like, that will favor me. Some of these allegations may not necessarily be true. Some of them are true. But how do you solve this issue when the person who is supposed to preside over corruption cases and sort them out and punish those are the same people being accused of corruption? Where do you go to? NFIU? Nigerian police? EFCC, where do you go to? Wherever you go to, they are planting venom against the institution, genuinely or falsely. They are casting aspersions and doubts in the minds of people that, after all, this institution is not reliable. After all, this institution is corrupt. After all, this institution is looking away. In a society where you have no confidence in the institutions that are supposed to protect you and fight corruption, for that long you will continue having people that will continue to occupy seats with a lot of caution, with no courage, with no guts, with no audacity to go after criminals, because they will be called names, and they are being called names.
It's a complex web. It reminds me of the mafioso in Italy. In those days where you can't run to the institutions to get justice, because that's the picture you're painting here.
Exactly.
So perhaps maybe I see, maybe when you go here, an assignment, take home assignment for you, deep down, go through some top processes and see whether you can come up with solutions. Well, how we can really wriggle out of this.
Before I go for that assignment, I will tell you my position now. My position is that as at now, I don't know tomorrow. As at now, I don't know the crop of coming leaders. In Nigeria, everybody is on his own. Everybody for himself. God for us all. Survival of the fittest. And the devil take the hindermost. We can continue asking endless questions like the biblical scribes and the Pharisees that keep on asking questions, asking for a proof, asking for evidence. The more evidences they are given, the more they ask questions. And the more miracles they see, the more they ask questions.
In other parts of Nigeria, solid minerals, we get reports of people, illegal miners, even foreigners, some of them Chinese, being arrested. Yes. We get reports of internal collusion. So it tells you that Nigeria's natural resources are a curse.
They are a curse, so to speak, in a manner of speaking. Natural resources deposited by God himself are supposed to empower not only the community where they are located, but the entire country.
So should we do away with this natural resource? There are some countries, Japan, name them, Singapore, that don't
have a single one.
Should we do away with them? Would that be a turnaround for Nigeria, where we need to rely on our productivity, on our sweat,
maybe we
to generate revenue?
If we are able to have a leader that can go extra length, extra mile, extra speed, deploy extra guts, extra courage, extra audacity to go head on, we can minimize this nonsense. If we are lucky to have a leader who has Nigeria at heart, with a team of people that will support him.
Selecting the right people.
Yes,
I always tell people, the leader is as good as the people around him.
Yes.
The leader may be shouting anti-corruption, those around him may be filling their pockets.
That's also
the leader gets
a leader with people who have also
integrity.
Nigeria at heart, who are fearless, and who have a relative degree of the fear of God. Maybe that may be the starting point. But you know, anytime I come to Abuja and I go around, I see estates upon estates. I see skyscrapers. When I see buildings taking place in my own state, in Kano, in Katsina, in Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, Lagos, I begin to ask, where did this money come from? In view of the following, we don't manufacture anything, therefore no economic activities. We import everything, therefore we spend more money. In a country where there are no economic activities, wealth is not being generated. Where is this money coming from? And now the answer is very clear. Because 26 trillion annually being stolen for 9 years, maybe for 10 years, maybe for 40 years, is dramatic enough and is huge enough to change the entire real estate market. Incidentally, in Nigeria, there are more than 60% houses are what? They are empty, because the EFCC chairman sometimes ago said this money is being stolen.
Yes, they are pushing them
into the real estate.
Ready made up.
Now I can understand where this money is coming from. Now I can understand the speed at which estates are being built all over the country, yet they are being locked up. There are no tenants.
Okay, let's go for a break. When we come back, you can hear from the non-commercial anti-corruption whistleblower. He has enough, and perhaps not yet opened the other bags he came with to this program. Perhaps we'll see the content after this break. Stay with us.
Dar Communications PLC, owners and operators of AIT, Great Power and Faji FM, brings you a new offering, AIT Cloud TV. Watch the space for more details.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Madi Shehu is a rights activist and non-commercial corruption whistleblower, and he has been bearing his mind on the crude oil theft, can say natural resource theft in Nigeria, unbridled, unparalleled, and of course, action being taken. Yes, the government seems to be doing some efforts, security agencies. Also, the president gave a marching order to the heads of security agencies, and maybe just after that we are beginning to see this. But of course, the introduction of private security arrangement to protect and secure oil facilities in the Niger Delta is an added impetus. Let's see how we can touch to some other areas. I said you came with a multitude of bags, so let's open the others. The budget, the president presented the budget estimate a few days ago. Budget, a transition budget, he called it. Last opportunity for him to meet some of his election manifestos. How would you react to that budget estimate?
Oh, I saw the budget. You saw the budget. They saw the budget. Everybody saw the budget. For me, it is a normal annual ritual where figures are churned and channeled out just to make people comfortable and make people happy that after all the budget has been passed, because everything will be tied down to we don't have a signed budget, we don't have a budget in place already. But if you sincerely look at the budget properly, $20.51 trillion trillion naira budget has been placed before the National Assembly. But let me give you a discount, because if you look at the budgetary breakdown, 6 trillion naira is being taken away. To pay what? To pay debt. So you really have only a budget of 14 trillion naira submitted, a ritual budget for that matter. If you look at the breakdown of the entire budget, I wish we have the time. You go sector by sector by sector, you find that over 40% of the remaining 14 trillion naira is revolving around what? Around government institutions. Over 40% is revolving around government institutions with a 1.1 trillion overhead cost. In other words, what the budget is telling you that take it or leave it, this is my budget. This is my last budget. This is what I intend to do. But I think at a deeper look at the budget, I will pick a statement. The president said that they have invested heavily into infrastructure, into roads. And he said, he promised he is going to commission all the roads under construction now before he leaves. But I want to inform Mr. President, sir, unless somebody is telling you lies, and I believe you are being told multiple lies in wholesale and in retail, they are not telling you the whole truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth is that before May 29, 2023, there is no way you can commission at least these 30 roads. Even if you have the combination and the support of angels and spirits. But there is no
is they continue.
See, Buhari,
President Buhari,
to him.
I'm coming, yes. I know that's what he said. Buhari commissioned some of the projects Olusegun Obasanjo started. Some of the projects Goodluck Jonathan started. So the man that was succeeding may likely also commission some of them.
He understands English very well. What he said is that even if I don't commission them, the next person taking over will commission them. But he made a categorical statement that he's going to commission all the remaining roads before he leaves. But I want to bring to his attention that Abuja, Kaduna Road, Okene Benin, Cape Fit Jos, Cape Kefi to Makodi, Kogi to Ilorin, Boko to Enugu, Enugu to Onitsha, Edo to Auchi, Agbo to Oromu, Umahia to Okigwe, Otukpo to Otukpa. They are death traps. 13 roads that are classical death traps in Nigeria that, as I said earlier, if you have a combination of angels and spirits, there is no way these roads can be completed and commissioned by the president before he leaves. Indeed, these roads are the biggest ISO of infrastructure investment in the history of Nigeria.
And I took a look at the provisions made for infrastructure in these 2023 budget estimates. Just a little less than 1 trillion.
That's right.
Some roads were mentioned, especially roads that have a counterpart funding component, like the Kefi, Apanga, Lafia, Makodi, or Tubo Night Mile Road. So a lot of money went into that place. Initially, we were told by the Minister of Finance that there's the likelihood that there won't be any capital component. But that's just 1 trillion. It's clearly not enough to commission or complete most of the signature, or what some people call legacy projects.
I now agree that I told you these budgetary figures are just an annual ritual that you cannot do without as a politician or even as a government. Otherwise, the figures don't tally. The figures only are telling you a story that there is no difference between 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, after this, no different. The figures might vary in quantum and in zeros, but the actual figures that you have are a representation of a ritual. Have you seen the budget? Below the budget paper, you will see courtesy, price, Waterhouse and copper. To inform you that Ministry of Budget are just spectators. A private firm is the one that is assembling these budget figures. And I wonder why...
No, there's the budget office. There's the Minister of Finance.
No, see, below the budget document, you see courtesy, price, Waterhouse and copper. To inform you that, yes, you have budget minister, yes, you have budget department, yes, you have budget, but actually, professionals...
Have I seen that?
Professionals are being... Look at it very well. I have the figure. I have the copy. You see a Price Waterhouse, a private organization, an interested public auditor, an interested financial advisor of the government is the person that is providing the budgetary figures and assembling them for what? For the people, for the public to see. I think something should be done. We have all it takes in Nigeria.
I know international financial institutions, World Bank, IMF also provide technical capacity through some firms. Maybe it could be one of the instances.
Which technical? Look, we should know our country more than anybody. We should know what we want more than anybody. We should know what we need more than anybody. We should have a scale of relative preference. Like you are going to the market, you should have your preferences. But if you look at the budgetary figures, there is no scale of relative preference associated with it economically. They are just random figures played with beautiful English, paragraph by paragraph, telling you that we have done this, we have done that. We should know what was the budgetary performance of even the last figures, the last budget of 2021. Don't forget, the Auditor General of Nigeria, in his 2022 annual report, reporting 2021, he said 389 billion naira appropriated could not be accounted for by MDAs in Nigeria. I'm quoting the Auditor General of the Federation.
The same Auditor General also raised this concern.
Yes.
And government officials such as the Senate President have also laid credence to that. Revenue generating agencies now remitting.
Have you had any MDA being reprimanded when the Auditor General gave the report? No. In Nigeria, you can do anything. Don't forget, not long ago, AMCON MD went to the National Assembly with a list begging the Senate President, Mr. President of the Senate, I have a list of less than 300 people who borrowed 5.3 trillion naira from shareholders' money in different banks. Some of the banks have already collapsed. We have done all our best to recover this money. This money we could not recover. Please, can you help us? This is a government organization reporting a 5.3
by way of amending laws,
by amending law.
Up to now,
Mom is the word. Nobody's talking about that issue.
But you know, the National Assembly, was it the 8th National Assembly that passed a law amending the Act establishing the Auditor General's office?
7th Assembly.
Was it the 7th?
The 7th.
7th Assembly,
yes.
Giving the Auditor General's office powers to sanction erring MDAs.
Yes.
But the president refused to sign. President Buhari refused to sign.
For
some reasons.
Yeah, because he's an appointee of a government, and some people being appointed are appointed not based on competence, but based on nepotism, based on proximity to the seat of power, based on their ability to deliver whenever there is a request. Therefore, you can't allow the Auditor General to sanction people that are special to the powers that be. It will never see the light of the day. I'm looking forward to a president with that courage to give that Auditor General that sweeping official legal power to sanction MDAs.
So the Auditor General's office becomes like
it's a toothless bulldog. Yes.
When they finish with their annual reports, they pass it over to the Senate and House Committees on Public Finance.
See, let me put it on
the whole public hearing will hear noise. They pass the documents over to the anti-corruption agencies, EFCC and ICPCs, and that is where we have even less noise.
Let me put it on record that in Nigeria, heads don't roll, and they will never roll in the face of infraction, large-scale looting, and breach of the law. They don't fall. The heads will not roll for the following reasons. Number one, you may remember that in the last 5 years, there had been more than 14 prison attacks and jailbreaks. You can remember the recent one.
Before that of Kuje in Abuja, the vowed that the last one was going to be the very last.
Hold on, you had one in Kuje recently. There was one in Yola, in Jos, in Ikoyi. There was one in Edo, in Benin. There was one in Owerri, in Kabba. There was one in Madala, Abo Prison. Continue. But Minister for Interior is still staying put. He is still there. Controller General of Prisons, there. No zonal prison controller lost his job. Nobody, no security agencies involved in securing these prisons. The heads are still there. The subordinates are still there. The locally posted ones are still there. No head has ever rolled on account of prison break. No heads have ever rolled in large-scale looting of public treasury. Look at the accountants of the Federation. In his office, 109 billion naira was stolen.
Said to have been
stolen. And EFCC is an official government body. He said they have to. Yes,
that's the allegation from EFCC.
He said 80 billion naira initially was said to have been stolen. Later they said it's 109 billion naira. When it was 80 billion naira, I made a quick arithmetic, and it translated that for a public servant to save 80 billion naira, if he's earning $1 million naira every month and keeping that 1 million naira safe in the budget in the safe, and all his requirements are given free, you need to propose 6,634 years to be able to save 80 billion naira. One person stole 109 billion naira. Only his name was mentioned, as if in the entire Accountant General office he is the only person. Where are those people who are maintaining the database? People who are making the postings,
the IPPIS manager?
Nobody. Mom is the word. It is.
And these are supposed gatekeepers.
They are the gatekeepers, but you see, only one person's name is mentioned. You could see during the
the Accountant General and one or two other officials.
Have you seen a drama in the court? On the second appearance, it was informed that there is an attempt to do a plea bargaining.
Out of court.
Out of court settlement. Plea bargaining means he will keep some part of the money stolen and return some part of the money. This is an insult.
That is recognized in law.
Look, it is an insult. If you want to correct this country, if you want put this country back to track, you must be seen to be serious. But where somebody steals money and you are plea bargaining with him, you are telling the people that
another point, because once you talked about it, my mind went to the National Council Procurement Act of 2007. You asked, when are we going to get that president that will amend, see to the amendment of the act establishing the Auditor General to give it teeth to bite. Those that violate our accounting processes and procedures should be punished. I also throw this question to you. The Procurement Act creates room for the establishment of the National Council on Procurement. And this council is the one that is supposed to approve final approval for contracts. Successive presidents have oversaw an illegality, in quotes. Illegality in the sense that the Executive Council of the Federation, what we call the Federal Executive Council, but actually the Executive Council of the Federation, has continued to usurp the powers of this National Council on Privatization to award contracts. Politicians awarding contracts, taking final decisions on contractual processes and procedure. When are we going to have a president that will be brave enough, that will be sincere enough to establish this council so that the politicians will be seized of this right and powers to award contract?
The most fraudulent law so far in Nigeria, the most anti-people, anti-God law, is that Public Procurement Act. It is an act fashioned out and designed to eliminate virtually everybody except the permanent government contractors. If you look at the requirement of this act, before you can qualify, you have already introduced corruption into the contract. You go to about 16 agencies for compliance before you qualify. Yet, somebody who is sitting down in the comfort of his office is given the figure to quote, is given the amount to quote, is given the specification to quote. Now, government officials have taken over the entire contract process in collaboration with the National Assembly, in collaboration with politicians. Even if you comply with all the Procurement Act requirements, you have only 10% chances of winning that contract, because for every contract, in every MDA, there is a sitting in-house party interested in that contract. Or there is a Senate committee member or a Senate chairman of that particular MDA interested in that contract. Not only interested in that contract, but the contract will be awarded to either his own company shamelessly or the company of his child or his daughter or his son. Eventually, the contract will not even be executed.
Some of them will be kicking.
And money
that you're raising allegations that you can prove.
Allegations. Haven't you seen how senators are being taken to court and members? Ask ICPC.
How many of them?
ICPC chairman recently made mention of the hundreds of billions of money recovered from politicians who got their companies awarded the contracts, and the contracts were never executed. Go to the Ministry for Agriculture. He made specific mention of that particular place, and so many other MDAs where contracts were awarded to politicians, mostly chairmen of those MDAs, members of the boards of those MDAs were awarded contracts. Therefore, for me, Procurement Act is the biggest rip-off, is the biggest fraud, is the biggest anti-people.
But would you hear of the amount of money it has saved the country? And I know you will get to read this.
When I see
they publish them based on strict adherence.
When I see these figures, I simply laugh, because I know they are made up figures. Some of them may be true, but substantially they are made up figures to show that that agency is working, to show that that agency is performing its own oversight function.
Okay, let's end with the tweets we have on our Twitter feed. Some of you have really sent in some of your tweets, and of course for us to share, and of course just go through them and see. We'll come back to it, we'll show them and read them. But your quick comments on removal of fuel subsidy, a decision we'll have to take in 2023. The budget makes provision up to May, when this government will move and another one will come. So some breathing space for the next administration.
I remember on this very place, on this very program, I mentioned that convince me 1 billion times, I will never believe that there is subsidy. Who is being subsidized? Subsidy is just an amount of money and a pool kept aside for certain cattle and cabal who have been enjoying, to the total exclusion of everybody, the entire money in the oil industry. But be that as it may, if you say I was drawing subsidy The message to Nigerians is that prepare in 2023. The Naira will be devalued substantially because contractors will be given the right to go, bring in fuel, determine the price, and sell at a market determinant
But
price.
there will be local refined products.
Which local refinery? How many? We have no single refinery working now, for God's sake. We are only waiting. Every hope is hinged on Dangote's refinery.
The government, the Minister of Petroleum, Minister of Petroleum said what the first I want to be rehabilitated in Port Harcourt will come on stream this December. So there will be some local products.
In before 2015 and after 2015, the president said that he is going to build one refinery every year. We are now in the 7th year. If he had kept his own words, we would have had 7 functional refineries. We are still waiting. So I don't want to. I don't want to hinge my hope that there is going to be a functional refinery. Well, the issue before we have them functioning, what is important? Nigerians get prepared. The moment this subsidy is removed, life is going to be extremely difficult. You can't pay your school fees
in the short term.
Not in the short term.
In the long term.
In Nigeria, there is no short term, no long term. Nigeria is a continuous process. The Naira will be devalued naturally. Purchasing power will be low. Already now, the marginal propensity to consume in Nigeria for those who have income is 0. The marginal propensity to invest is 0. The marginal propensity to save is 0. This is Nigeria for you. Therefore, 2023, we ask God in His infinite wisdom and mercy to come to the rescue of 80% Nigerians who have been posted into permanent, irreversible economic Nigeria. Amen.
Thank you so much, Madi Shehu, rights activist and non-commercial corruption whistleblower. You saw him, he came with.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.